This episode of Coach's Corner brought to you by The Groove Yard, More Than a Rock Store, Divine Hammer Computers, custom built fast computers, and Advanced Audio Microphone Summerland. On this episode of Coach's Corner, a playoff edition, we talk about the regular season. It's a wrap. 56 games are in the books. We're looking at the playoffs. We'll go back on some of the highlights from 2012-13. All-Stars and hardware to be handed out, a V's flavor with that as well. We'll get to that, and we'll preview Salmon Arm the V's one more time in the playoffs. All that and more, because Coach's Corner starts now.
From the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street in Penticton, with our fourth season, this is Coach's Corner. It's the show that brings you insight to the on and off ice action of the 2012 RBC Cup National Champions, the Penticton V's. Host Fraser Rogers is joined by V's head coach and GM Fred Harbinson, with the Best Damn studio audience for the Best Damn V's talk. Now, here's Coach Harbinson and Fraser Rogers.
And welcome back to another edition of Coach's Corner here from the Best Damn Sports Bar in Penticton. As you see behind us, playoff edition of this episode 20, as the regular season's now behind us in the rearview mirror, talking playoffs and defending the Fred Page Cup Championship and ultimately the Royal Bay Cup Championship the V's won last year in May. But first things first, let's talk about that regular season briefly. And pretty good year, another banner year, interior division title in the regular season, 35 wins, tied for the most. In the BCHL, 75 points. Did your expectations, were they exceeded by the way this team played, or were you not surprised with what the team you had?
Well, I think whenever we won the championship last year, and you start doing your recruiting over the summer, and you look up and down the lineup, and you see you only have 4 returning players. There was some concern, throughout the summer, but then as time went on and different players started to commit, we knew we'd have a solid hockey club again, and a team that that at the end of the year would have a chance, and that's all you want, is to be one of those teams at the end of the year that has a fighting chance. And I think we got off to a heck of a start. I think maybe it blew up some expectations around the town again, and something that we're used to here. Lately, the last month probably been a little bit of a rocky up and down, but that's expected and nothing to be too concerned about. But at the end of the day, to win the interior championship back-to-back years, and have a chance to win we had a chance right down to the last weekend of the season to win the Ron Boyle Trophy. So pretty happy with the results, and now we get excited about the next step.
Obviously, when October rolled around, must have knew you had something going. He's talked about people got excited. Really good road record off the start. Did you know, okay, this team might be ahead of where I thought they were with that early record in the first 2 months?
Yeah, and I think that's where we were able to grab a couple extra 20-year-olds as the year went on. Like at this time of year, your veteran players carry a lot of the weight, and so. We were able to add players like Thomas Nietzsche and Flanagan and players of that caliber on the back end to kind of add some experience. And I think when you looked early in October, we talked about where some players like Ryan Gropp would be by the end of the year and how they're going to grow, and we've seen that. And Brad McClure, and obviously Reverie was on his way there and then got derailed by the big injury with the injury there that took him out for about 2 months, but. He's looking, like he's taken another step now, and the whole gray line with DePork, Amate, and Blandwell. So, I think as a team we've grown. I think we've grown well. As the chemistry throughout the lineup's been strong, and I think the boys are ready to do battle against a very good team in Salmon Arm.
We'll talk about that towards the end of the show, and we'll talk about those key pickups in a moment. You talked about it kind of at length here on the show. Quote-unquote, maybe struggled at times to score, but yet still finished second in league scoring, and up until the last week, the top scoring team in the league. Was it surprising how much goals are getting, how easy scoring was, or do you think maybe the 197 is where you thought your team would be at regular season?
Well, I think we've said it a million times this year that goal scoring for whatever reason is down this year throughout the league. We finished second to West Kelowna with just under 200 goals. which was I think the lowest since I've been here. But at the same time, finished second in the league. And I think we talked about parity throughout, team number 1 to team number 16, and you talked about the strength in the goaltending position throughout the league has been, it's at the all-time high with the amount of goaltenders that are committed to top-end Division I schools. And I think the other thing, there's been a little bit more continuity in coaching staffs throughout the league, which means that teams are probably a little more prepared than maybe some of the teams that have a constant change. So, I think when you put all that together, it's made it harder to score this year. But at the same time, we know that we have the talent, not just on our forward lines, but on the back end as well to score enough goals to win hockey games.
Goaltending a lot better across the board this year as well. Defensively, though, something to hang your hat on. Best defensive team in the league, best plus-minus as well, plus 60. That's something you pride on, especially this time of year when goals get hard to come by and you have to win those tight games.
Yeah, over the years, everybody wants to talk about our team, about how we're an offensive-minded team and whatnot, and obviously last year there was so much brought on our offensive prowess. But you know what? When you look over the 6 years that I've been here, we either been this is in 07-08 we won the top goals against. Every other year we either been second or in the top 3. So it's I think we take a lot of pride in our defensive side of the game. We know that. If we play hard on the defensive side of the puck and create turnovers, then that's when the offense can take over with a quick transition game. And once again, this series, not to keep going back to it, but that's going to be critical when you look at the way Salmon Arm's built. If we can play well on our own end, play well at the blue line or top of the circles, create turnovers with their defensemen up in the rush, then we can get going on the other way.
Kind of still euphemism that's used by the Detroits, Chicago. It's hard to get scored on when you have the puck a lot of the time as well, the puck possession. Talking about pickups now and key ones for the V's, we see them behind us on the screen. A lot of them are key, obviously. Brock Balson, Sean Flanagan, some veteran players. How big, though, lead off with the Jed Soloway pickup in early December. A rare trade between Vernon and Penticton, a swap that both teams thought it met a need, but he's really catch fire with Lou Nanny and Wade Murphy on the top line as well.
Yeah, you know what? That just we were very fortunate. Sometimes, you get into these situations, and Dexter Danks was a very good up and coming player, and talking with his advisor and himself, he was looking for maybe a little bigger role, and never told us that he needed to be traded, but just said that maybe if something else was out there. And at the same time, all of a sudden there's Vernon, our top competitor and big rival for since the beginning of time, and they had a player kind of in the same situation, and nobody ever would have thought that the two teams would make the deal. But at the end of the day, I think both sides are happy. Dexter's going to be a good player for them next year, and I was telling someone today that I think Jed, we knew he was a good player, but I think we maybe even underestimate him a little bit, the way maybe he was used in different situations with Vernon, and we've been fortunate to kind of find different ways to bring maybe a little more out of him, and maybe the pressure of playing at home in Vernon was a little much for a young guy, and he's really blossomed into all-around 200-foot hockey player.
Don't get me wrong, the points have been great, but you like to rave about, and I know the coaching staff does, about himself in the face-off circle, how good defensively, offensively, key times of the game, how he continues to win those key face-offs.
Well, you've seen the games where he's been out for us. When we talk about puck possession, you have to get the puck every time the puck's dropped, right? So it's when he's been out of the lineup, it means it's put a lot more on the shoulders of Rebry, and now when you have Jed in the lineup, and he's at a high 60% rate or whatever on the dot, and now you've got him, you've got Rebry, and DePort does well in certain situations on the dot. So it's it's going to be real key in this next series, and it is always key down the stretch.
A couple other guys, quiet guys, maybe in the dressing room or day-to-day, not vocal guys, but really good on the ice, do all their play, do the talking. Sean Flanagan, Brock Balson. Maybe their stats don't jump out to you on paper, but these guys that do the intangibles the right way, the little things that coaches like to see.
Yeah, well, with Brock, when he plays hard, and that's the biggest thing is trying to get him to play hard all the time, and when he does, it's he's a tough player down low in the zone. He can play both the wing and center, so once again, real versatile. It's something we've talked about him. He'll block shots. He can play on the on a power play. He can play in all situations. So it opens up a lot of different avenues for us. when he's using his speed and using his size. And Flanagan is, Mankato State's getting a heck of a defenseman. They're real smooth, real heady, like you say, not the most vocal guy, but just kind of leads with his play and looks effortless at times, but real good with the puck.
Quickly, and John Seymour, lastly, 20-year-old, highly skilled forward. He's become quite the playmaker, it seems like, on the power play, obviously, working that left corner, but also on a nice line with Redbury and Brad McClure.
Yeah, and he kind of goes about his business real quiet, too. When you look at it over the last 10 games, he leads our team in points. I think he's got 14 or 15 points, and a lot through the playmaking side of it. I think he only scored 4 or 5 goals and a lot on the assists, but typical Californian, a guy that has great hands, great vision. We've seen some others in the past and on our team, and you just know, coming from the roller hockey days that that he seems to find ways to distribute the puck real well. And I think to his credit too, he's really taken in since we brought him over here at the deadline to play a well-rounded game, not just a one-way game, to play hard, in the tight situations, and he's been real good with it. It's been real exciting to see him take another step in his game.
Just some of the key guys for these come the playoffs starting tomorrow. These 5, though, expect big things out of them starting this weekend. We'll take a break, step out. When we come back, talk about what some BCHL awards for Penticton Vees. This is Coach's Corner from the Best Damn Sports Bar.
Here's a look at the V's upcoming schedule. Remember, home or away. Follow all the action on Easy Rock AM 800 or online at www.myeasyrock.com. Why not join us next time as part of our studio audience for another episode of Coach's Corner?
And welcome back to Coach's Corner here from the Best Damn Sports Bar. V's again making news when it comes to the league awards announced on Wednesday. 4 V's shared 3 awards, you would say. We'll start, though, with the captain, and probably not a surprise. Penciled in as the interior defenseman of the year. You see it behind us. Led the league defensively with assists, with 39, leading all defensemen. Top 3 in points, obviously, and one of the best all-around defensemen in the BCHL. Not a surprise, but still, it's good to praise a guy who's one of the best in this league.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of my, one of the favorite players that you get a chance to coach only so many times, and it's not because of his point totals. It's always about the heart. He just, when you look at last year, with some of the talented defensemen that were in the Royal Bank Cup, and he goes and wins the top defenseman award at that tournament, and a 2-time player at the World Junior A Challenge on Team Canada West, and won a gold medal there. I mean, you think about all the things that he's accomplished in his Junior A career, and it's just been fun for me to watch. Here's this young kid walks up, and I've told the story a million times when I met with him and his father, and when he got out of the car, and I thought it was his little brother or something. He just looked like a little kid, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, who are my scouts sending me now? And I remember him, telling me that he was going to be, he was going to make our team, and he was going to help us, win a championship. And for 3 years, he's been the heart and soul of this team, or a big part of it anyway. And for me to see him win this award, and for our whole staff, and the work that Mike Hengen's done with him, it's very rewarding, and we're real happy that he was able to get the scholarship settled with North Dakota and out of the way before playoffs. So it's Troy's got a heck of a career ahead of him, and we're real proud of all the work he's done here in a V's uniform.
Would you safe to say one of the most decorated junior hockey players in the CJHL in his lifespan in Junior A?
Yeah, he's up there for sure. And I mean, like I say, you win a gold medal, you win the World Bank Cup. I mean, in the same year, only so many guys. I think there was just the last year that's ever happened, and just the way he carries himself. Like I said, he's a real mature kid, and he's worked real hard. He worked real hard to get his schooling in check, and graduated, and the whole deal. And with he really pulled his marks up, and secure a scholarship to the University of North Dakota, a great school. I mean, just he just really handles himself in every situation real well and real mature, and he has been a great captain for us.
Must be noted great in the community as well, leading off the ice for the V's this year. Been exemplary in that category. Kind of full circle, because a guy at Stetcher's stage earlier is Ryan Gropp, another 16-year-old, not the biggest build obviously, but very dynamic, a player that has that wow factor fans like to see, and even other teams talk about. 31 points is the youngest player, actually the 16-year-old, but the youngest player in the BCHL. How impressive is that? 31 points in 53 games. That's pretty good.
A young 16-year-old, and once again, very extremely talented. You'd be blind not to see it when you come to the games, and it's he comes once again. I think we've been real fortunate here in Penticton, surrounding ourselves with good players, but probably more importantly, good people, and they come from good families. In our 6 years here now, we've had the Rookie of the Year 4 out of the 6 years, and the 2 years that we didn't, probably our guy finished second. So it was, in all cases, and Ryan's no exception. Very good, very good upbringing. Very down to earth. Takes all the accolades that are coming towards him, all the attention, and has really handled it in stride. And once again, doing well in school. Comes to work every day to the rink, and I think he very clearly has a bright future ahead of him.
Maybe a attribute you can't measure on the score sheet is the way he's handling some of these tight games when the physicality ramps up. The stakes are higher. Going to the playoffs, seems like he's thriving in those environments right now.
Yeah, it's something that it's all part of the maturation process. I mean, it's something that our staff and myself have talked with Ryan many times this year. He's been put in different challenging situations with our team, going to making Team Pacific, and playing in that tournament out in Quebec was another big challenge for him. And we've talked about numerous times that we understand and are very aware of his offensive gifts, but when the game's 2-1, being the player that's responsible and finding the bag check and getting in lanes and making sure that we're not turning pucks over, those are the things that make the coaches sleep at night and understand that he can be played late in games, and he's improved a ton throughout the year with that, and it's something that we'll see him continue to grow, hopefully through the playoffs.
And lastly, a shared award, the Wally Forsland Memorial Trophy for the two goaltenders, the top duo, I should say. Chad Kattner, Nick Renyard, 2.33 goals against average. Even though Chad's had his struggles down the stretch, still very good regular season record. And two guys that you can have confidence in going to the playoffs right now.
Yeah, no question about it. We have two goaltenders that can play. Chad showed last year. He did something that very few 18-year-olds have done in this league, is win a BC championship, and was part of our RBC Cup obviously last year, and off to Notre Dame next year. And Nick is when his number's been called upon, he's done extremely well. And down the stretch, he's been very solid and giving us a chance. We've had some very unlucky bounces. We're not an excuse team around here, so we won't talk much about it. But they've been on the bad side of a few weird bounces in the last month, and that happens. Better to get them out of the way now. And at the same time, you got to give credit to the entire team for the goals against as well. I think you start with the D-core and the dedication they bring to that side of the puck, and then our forwards making sure that they're not just playing one way.
And there's no Cominco Arena in the playoffs this year for Nick Renyard.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
We'll come back tight on time. We'll preview the much-anticipated Salmon Arm V's playoff series starting tomorrow and Saturday. We'll have that after the break. This is Coach's Corner from Best Damn Sports Bar.
Here's a look at the V's upcoming schedule. Remember, home or away. Follow all the action on Easy Rock AM 800 or online at www.myeasyrock.com. Why not join us next time as part of our studio audience for another episode of Coach's Corner?
And welcome back as we wrap things up here. Most importantly, the most pertinent topic, we're talking about the playoff preview. V's and the Salmon Arm Silverbacks for the second time in 3 years in the postseason. Last time Salmon Arm was in the playoffs in 2010 and 2011, it was against the V's in a second round matchup. 1 versus 4, but Salmon Arm, one of the hottest teams down the stretch, winning 5 of the last 6, including 3 straight, to end out the regular season and get that 4th spot. Is it always tricky playing a team that's on a high like that going into the postseason?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, I think it boils down to, you got 2 teams, both have a game plan. Both are going to try to attempt to execute their game plan, and who's going to get it done. And so, I think I think we've done a real good job with our club, making sure that we know who we're playing. We know the ins and outs. We know ourselves real well, and what we have to do to probably even more importantly, how we want to play and to be successful. And I think our guys are poised to do it. I think I thought we had a good week of practice and have a little extra jump in our step now, knowing that the real season begins tomorrow night. I don't think it really matters, what anybody's done in the last 10 games.
If you look back in the regular season, can you draw from the success, 5 wins in 7 games, points in 6 of 7 against Salmon Arm? Do you look back on the good things you did in those 5 wins?
Well, I mean, yeah, you look at the positives, but once again, I think it's you can throw all that stuff out the window, and you look at maybe reasons why you had success against that team. Teams change and grow and adjust throughout the year. Salmon Arm's much different now than they were back in October, and so are we. So, I don't think we focus too much on that. You look at different trends and the way they like to play, and like I said, I think I'll just go back to it. I think the way we've learned about. One of the positives about having some struggles down the last month here is it really allows you to kind of instill the strengths of the team with your guys and say, look, this is when we were winning, this is what we were doing. When we've had some things go against us, this is the way we're playing, and now you start trying to get them to buy in even a little more. I think when you just go rolling along and win, sometimes it's hard at this level and at every level to keep the guys understanding that exactly all the little details that go into it. And I think we've got their attention right now. And like I said, tomorrow night you get into the game and you've got the game plan, and all of a sudden somebody punches you in the nose. You can't let the game plan go out the window. You have to be ready to stay true to the game plan and push through.
Is that what it is, too? A big key for this team from start to finish is not wavering from what's set out in front of you. We saw some maybe mental lapses against Vernon last Friday, kind of derailing the Vs. But when you play your game, it seems like this team is really hard to beat.
Yeah, I think when we get our opportunities, we have to try to make the best of them. At the same time, if it doesn't happen, then you can't waver. You can't, the games are won. So, nowadays, 2-1, 3-2, they're always tight. It seems like you're always one edge, one play away from going up or one play away from going down, and that means that you can't lose focus for a second. And when you look at last Friday, that's what happened. You lose focus for one minute. Next, it's in the back of the net, and you go home. And in the playoffs, when that happens, that can put you in a hole. And if it does happen, you have to just pick yourself back up and get ready to go to war again the next night.
And playing off that, you mentioned it's just a matter of inches. Games at this time of year, is it all about just the details, the fine things, and checking off the boxes with that game plan?
Yeah, I think so, and I think one thing that we can really put on our side is I think we should be well conditioned to play in these tight type of games. We've been in them all year, right from day one. I think 32 games out of our season have been 1-goal games, win or lost, and so I think that's a real positive on our side that this should be not be any surprise to us. Where you saw last year where we had such a high prolific scoring team that all of a sudden playoffs when things tightened up, you could see a few guys looking, especially in that first round, like oh boy, this is a little different than it was a month ago, and I think starting tomorrow and hopefully pushing along over the next couple of months in the playoffs, there shouldn't be anything that should surprise us.
Salmon Arm doesn't blow the doors off when it comes to offense. Obviously, 3rd lowest scoring team in the regular season. It's about maybe forcing, it's cliche, but forcing the issue on this team, trying to get up maybe an early lead or just get a lead on them, a couple of goals, and is that when you think you can take advantage?
Well, I mean, obviously you want to score more than the other team, and if you can score first, great, and if you mentally make them play from behind, I think they're going to play the same way if they're up or down. It seems to me like it's the only way they know how to play is with their D up and 4-man attack a lot of times, and so. I think that the thing is that means that your transition game, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be critical, and I just think that yeah, if you can get them to play from behind a little bit and wear them out. They've had a tough, you talk about, they've done some great things over the last 10 games, but it's been a mental grind. They've had to come back, a handful of times in those 10 games. They've had to win in overtime. There's been a lot of, grueling things that have happened to them in the travel. If we can get up on them in a lead and make them play mentally from behind would be, could be an added bonus for sure. Game
1 is tomorrow night at the SWC. And you look at this home record is still very good this year. And how big would it? It's another cliche and obvious question, but how big is it to get Game 1? How big is that in a series to get the first game of the series going forward in games 2 and 3?
Well, I guess it'll be big if we win, and if we don't win, then it won't be that big. But I think with this team here, we're definitely a feel-good team. I think sometimes we show our youth with. Just certain situations that it's never it's never that bright and it's never that dark, right? So we go into that game tomorrow night. I think like I said, our guys seem like they've got a good jump in their step right now, and I think they're ready to go. And if we go and play our game, then I think tomorrow night, it'd be great to get that first game under your belt and kind of start building momentum from it. And momentum's a big thing in any series, and in a best of 7, like we just keep telling our guys, every year that I've been here, we just talk about you just got to win 4 before the other team, and if you happen to get down, then nothing should change. You make your adjustments and you stick with your plan, and if you get up, it's the same thing. You just keep that foot down and keep pressing until you put that other team out. But I know our staff, I know our players, everybody involved is looking forward to Game 1.
Lastly, you just mentioned earlier, they put a lot of miles on their tires recently with travel, the road trip on the Vancouver Island, having to come back quite a bit from 2 to 3 goal deficits. Do you think the depth over this 7-game series kind of might be the biggest key for the V's with the line matchups, 2, 3, 4 going at the Salmon Arm team continuously?
Well, and that's where you have to hope that everybody shows up, right? And if we have all our players show up and they have all their players show up, then I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that on paper that the depth should go in our favor. But as we know, the game's not played on the sheet of paper; it's played on the sheet of ice, and that's what we've. I've made sure that I made my rounds today after practice, talked to a couple guys just to make sure that they're ready to compete. Not everyone needs to score goals, but we need everybody to compete. And if we do that and make sure that we don't have to shorten our bench very often, then I like our chances.
Not one of the more publicized rivalries in recent years, but a very good one. Salmon Arm and the V's all gets going tomorrow night. That is our preview. Can't wait. 7 o'clock at the SWC is the puck drop. Like to thank Coach and everybody here. That wraps it up for here at the Best Damn Sports Bar. Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll see you next time.
Coach's Corner has been a presentation of the Penticton V's. Production services provided by Groovy Productions and Synergy Imaging. I'm Wayne Williams. And remember, everyone, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered.